perceive to be a positive trend. Maybe we don't see too many positive trends in our world today. But it seems to me, and I think you'll agree, that on Memorial Day, in the last 10 years or so, a change. For years, all you heard was it's the first day of summer. And with the miserable winters we endure, I understand that. But more and more you see the patriotism and the focus on the men and women in our military who died for us. That was the original purpose of Memorial Day. It seems every little town, big cities have more parades. You see little kids carrying the flags. Channel 16 will interview the person. This is for the men who died, the women who died to serve our country. That was lost for some years, it seems to me. And now you're seeing that original purpose of Memorial Day, the men who died and the women who died for us, making a comeback. I think that's a very good. Why are we able to stand here and go to church? Because some people were willing to go and die for our country, for the rights that we have. And if you don't want to go to church, you don't have to go to church. If you don't want to go to this church, you don't have to go to this church. Freedom of religion. A lot of people died. We can have that. Maybe they're your parents. My dad fought at the Battle of the Bulge. Unbelievable. That's a good trend. And that's what the first reading was about. Stephen is the first martyr. He had a lot of followers. They threw stones until he died. They didn't want to hear what he had to say, so they said, well, get rid of this loser, and they killed him. Think about it. On Easter Sunday morning, Christianity did not yet exist. In a couple hundred years, it was a dominant force in the world. Why? Because people were willing to die for it. Some were thrown to lions, some were crucified, some were beheaded. You know the stories we learned in our youth? And because they were willing to do that, the church grew and exploded in popularity. There must be something about this if this person's willing to give her life for it. And here we are today. We've made it. Christianity is the dominant force in the whole world. 1 in 5 Catholics, 1 in 5 Americans is a Catholic. Think about that. We are a dominant force. There's no threat to us. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Nobody here is going to get stoned for going to church. We can do what we want. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Perhaps because we made it, and Christianity is now the accepted force in the whole world, really. I remember, I was 18, 19, kids were getting their first cars. I was one of the last to get my first car. One of my buddies had his first car, not a new car, but it was his first car, and he got a pretty good dent in it. And I said to him, well, that's a pretty good dent. He said, I don't care, my father bought it. Think about that. He got it for nothing. And so he didn't care. His dad paid for it. Are we sometimes like that when it comes to our religion? Because we've made it, we're not going to get stoned for going to church. Maybe we take it for granted. Think about that. Think about that. And the funny thing is, there are threats. There are threats that maybe we don't recognize anymore. Easter Sunday morning, 300 people were Catholics going to Mass in Sri Lanka were killed. Some Muslim extremists bombed the building or something, and they died. Now you say, well, that's halfway across the world. Yeah, yes it is, but they're Catholics just like us, Christians just like us. And you see a little bit more of that. How many months ago out in Pittsburgh, the guy went on a shooting rampage at the Jewish synagogue? Well, that's a little bit closer. Most of us have been to Pittsburgh. Well, they were Jewish. And then there's other threats. The threat of secularism. That this isn't that important to a lot of people anymore. It's not. As one writer said, people have found something else to do on Sunday morning. Only the really devout people come anymore. That's for every religion. It tells you the same thing. The Jewish rabbi will tell you the same thing. That's a threat. Call it secularism. This just isn't that important. Think about that. That's a threat, not a stone being thrown at us. And you know, to some degree, we're responsible. The guys who have Mass on Sunday night, that was supposed to be for if she's a nurse, you know, and she has to work in the morning, she has a Mass. It's become a very, have a Mass at night. In other words, Sunday morning is just another morning. Play softball this morning, play soccer. And given a choice between church and soccer, where's a kid going to go? Soccer. And to some degree, we allow that. And then we shot ourselves in the foot with the grand jury report. It might be a self-inflicted wound, but oh, it's a wound. That's a threat. There are threats. We're not going to get stones thrown at us for coming, but there are threats. Is this a priority in your life? Now, it's 7 o'clock in the morning and you're here, so yes, it is for you. But religion, all religion, is threatened today. And we are not exempt from that. Take this seriously. Take it home. Take it out there. You know, if you watch the first 30 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, which was shown a lot on Memorial Day, at the end of those 30 minutes where they show the scenes at Normandy, big 50-page special in the Scranton Times today, they show the one guy, just some nameless soldier, with his blood all over him at the beach, face down in the water, dead. And there's his blood. Powerful scene. Could have been my dad. What is our religion about? A man's blood being shed on the cross. Is it a priority in our lives, as it was for that man, his country, our faith? Let us stand, my friends, and we'll